All right, let's talk about something huge happening in India's gig economy. We're talking about the millions of people, your delivery drivers, your cab riders, who are about to see a major change. We're going to unpack a new social security scheme that really represents a fundamental shift in how this super flexible workforce is supported. So let's dive right in.
Just think about it for a second. You tap a button on your phone, and food magically appears at your door, or you summon a car out of thin air. It's all so seamless, right? But what about the actual person making all of that happen? When they get sick, or if they have an accident, who catches them? That one simple question really opens up a huge gap in our modern economy.
I mean, these workers are pretty much the lifeblood of our on-demand world. They're the ones who inject all that dynamism that makes our cities work the way they do now. But all this new freedom, it comes with a hidden cost. There's this constant tension between the flexibility they need and the security they absolutely deserve. And this really captures the tightrope these folks are walking every single day. On one side, you have the flexibility, new ways to earn an income, that's the dynamism. But on the other side, there's this constant risk, this precarity. Because without a real safety net, a single accident or a sudden illness can be totally catastrophic. And that's not just an economic problem, It's a real issue of social justice.
So, faced with this growing challenge, the Indian government is now stepping in. Let's take a look at what their response is. So here it is. This is the landmark decision. The government is bringing online platform workers into its biggest flagship health insurance program, Ayushman Bharat, also known as PMJA. And this isn't some small new program. Nope. This is about plugging this whole new workforce into one of the country's most powerful safety nets.
And the scale we're talking about here is just staggering. The government is aiming to help nearly 1 crore, that's 10 million gig workers all across the country. This isn't some little pilot program. This is a full-on, nationwide effort to redefine what Social Security even means for this modern era.
Okay, so what does this actually mean for, say, a delivery driver or someone who drives for a rideshare app? Well, it boils down to three really key things. First, they get an official identity card, which formally recognizes the work they do. Second, they get registered on the National eShram database, which is basically the official front door to Social Security benefits. And third, and this is the big one, they get access to serious healthcare coverage, putting them on par with millions of other vulnerable workers.
All right, it's a great idea in theory, but how does a policy like this actually go from being a document on paper to something that works in practice? Let's get into the mechanics of the rollout. The whole rollout is designed as a three-step partnership. First up, the government brings the major platforms on board, the companies themselves. And why do that? Well, because it's the fastest, most direct way to actually reach the workers. Then they're holding these massive registration campaigns to get everybody onto that eShram portal. And once they're in the system, step 3, the benefits can start to flow directly to them. And this is where you see public policy meeting the private sector head on. I mean, you know all of these names, right? We're talking about absolute household names. By partnering up with giants like Zomato, Uber, Swiggy, and Amazon, the government is making sure this program has a massive reach from day one.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a minute. This scheme isn't just happening in a bubble. It's actually part of a much bigger picture, a story about government priorities, about spending, and really about a whole new philosophy of governance.
And if you ever want proof that something is a real priority, well, you just have to follow the money. And here it is. These are the government's own budget numbers for Social Security and welfare. Just look at that trend. It's a clear, steady increase year after year. This isn't just talk. It's a funded, real commitment, a tangible investment in social justice.
And the program they're being brought into, it's an absolute powerhouse. Ayushman Bharat, PMJA, is one of the largest government-funded health insurance schemes on the planet. By extending it to gig workers, the government is making a really powerful statement. They're basically saying this new workforce is officially recognized as a vulnerable group that deserves the nation's strongest healthcare protections. There's also a bigger shift in philosophy going on here. The government is moving to what it calls an output-outcome monitoring framework. Now, I know, that sounds pretty technical, but think of it this way. Instead of just measuring how much money they're spending, the input, they're now focused on measuring the actual results for people, the outcome. So it's less about how much did we spend and way more about how many lives did we actually improve. It's a massive push for real accountability.
So what does this all mean? Where does this leave us? And what does it signal about the future of work itself? At the end of the day, this initiative in India is so much more than just a single policy. It's really one country's answer to a question that the entire world is grappling with. The very idea of what a job is, it's changing, it's evolving right in front of us. So our systems of social justice have to adapt too. This policy offers one potential path forward, but that fundamental question is still out there for everyone. How do we build safety nets that are just as flexible, just as dynamic as the 21st century workforce has become?